It's Amanda. I just wanted to do a quick video to talk about COVID right now and just how YogaStrong is handling it and just how we're all handling it, just kind of talking a little bit about it. So I do want to start by apologizing if you notice that I glanced to the side. I have a bullet list so I can make sure I cover everything. I also have a few websites that I'm citing, which I will post as well, so you can look at that as well. So I just want to make sure I give credit where it's due. All right. So even the CDC talks about how COVID is affecting our mental health. And it affects our mental health in a lot of ways. There's the fear of ourselves getting sick or loved ones getting sick, the frustration over the social distancing. I know that's affected me personally. Frustration about the mask rule, guilt over daily choices that maybe we're making that's not the most healthy. Maybe we've gained a little weight. I know I have. Or maybe we're losing muscle that we had before because we were able to hit the gym a little harder. Lack of socialization, that's obviously a clear one. So all of these are really valid concerns. And I just want to first recognize how hard it is. And just know that we're all powering through it together. And hopefully at the end of this, we'll be able to look back and be like, woo, made it through 2020. So with that being said, with this stressful time, it's super important for us to make sure we're getting physical activity. It has been proven that exercise has a positive effect on stress and anxiety. And I'm using some sources from Harvard Medical on exactly that topic. So according to Harvard Health, engaging in exercise will help divert the mind from going through anxiety. So basically, because we're exercising, it's taking our mind off of whatever we're worrying about. And that's a positive thing sometimes, to get that internal dialogue to kind of calm down. Another thing is that moving your body decreases tension. And as we all know, as yogis, yoga helps so much with that, and it just feels so good, and it helps us maintain proper length in the muscles, keeping the muscle nice and healthy. We also have increasing the heart rate, changes the chemistry in our brains. So it's going to increase the availability of anti-anxiety neurochemicals like serotonin, which is great. It also, exercise activates the frontal region of the brain, and that's responsible for executive function. And what's really cool about it is that it allows control of the amygdala, which is that reactive system. Like whenever we're threatened and our survival's at risk, it activates, and that's where our anxiety starts to kick in. So the fact that it's activating the frontal region of the brain, it's going to help lower that signal from the amygdala and help us feel less anxious and less stressed. Let's see. Also, exercising helps build resilience, and it helps you power through your emotions. Sometimes the best way to process our emotions is to just sweat it out or do something, get our mind off. And when we look back, that actually makes us stronger, right? We made it through, and you look back and you're like, yeah, I had this, I made it, it's good. And that helps build that strength. So again, obviously exercise is very, very important right now. Any sort of physical activity. And we already hear that all the time because we're an inactive country and we tend to be inactive. And so I feel like I'm beating a dead horse by saying we need to be more active, but you know the drill. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some COVID stuff, but I want to preface with I'm not a medical professional. These are my opinions, and I always urge and encourage, urge and encourage you to look stuff up on your own. Anything I reference is going to be on under, in the comments. But you need to make an educated decision yourself. So I want to first start by saying you need to make sure that you know your risk level. So I feel pretty confident that those of us who are already at a higher risk are kind of aware of it. But just in case we're not, so the elderly population, if you're older adult, that makes you a little more susceptible, as well as having any sort of chronic pre-existing disease such as heart disease, lung disease, cancer. So those are going to make you more susceptible to having the super bad effects, right? Like the severe effects from contracting COVID. So I assume that if you're thinking about going to the studio, you know that you're not one of these populations. And also you need to keep in mind if you're interacting with these populations, just in case. And I'm sure, again, any of you guys that are working with any of those populations are probably aware of it. But I feel like it's worth a mention. So that being said, Texas has not closed fitness facilities. They have limited capacities of restaurants to 50%. They've decreased social gatherings to be of 100 people or less, but bars are closed. And this information is from yesterday, I believe. It'll be in the link down below. With that being said, gyms are not closed. So it is our decision to decide if we feel it's a low enough risk to go into the gym. So of course, at any time, if you don't feel comfortable, don't go. That's fine. We offer online streaming for you guys, and that's great. Follow us on, you come do an online class with us. That's awesome. We will hook you up. But I know I'm super motivated when I'm in a classroom setting, and it's really helpful. So I assume others are like that too. So I kind of want to talk about the risk levels here. So I was watching on WebMD. They have a special video about exercise during this time. I believe it was published 3 days ago. And it's discussing gyms. So according to Dr. Cedric Bryant, as intensity increases, the more physical distancing we need from someone. So I found in a study done in South Korea that they had a gym that ended up having cases of COVID. I believe it was 6 of their instructors ended up testing positive. They exposed 217 people, and out of those people, 54 people did contract COVID. But it is important to note that these were vigorous Zumba-esque Latin-inspired dance classes. They even say on there that they were not found during Pilates, they were not found during yoga classes. So Dr. Bryant suggests classes like indoor cycling, things that are like intense constantly to, double the space if you're going to do that. And he kind of recommends doing those kind of activities outside. Just because what happens is we start to breathe heavy, and if we're going through the whole exercise, or we're getting respiratory droplets everywhere, and that increases your likelihood of inhaling it and coming in contact with COVID. So I want to again reiterate, so when we think about yoga and think of the practice, even in our powery, flowiest moments, we are not constantly in a vigorous breathing. Is it intense at times? Heck, yes, it is. But it's not for a long period of time. And in the study, the South Korea study, they talk about the classes were 50 minutes of high intensity workout. And I can only base it off of the way I do classes, but I would say that the majority of the time we're spending probably at most 30 minutes doing vigorous work where we're, and even then vigorous, I mean, it feels hard, but I don't know if it would be the same as indoor cycling or like running or something of that, or yeah, something of that nature. So that's something to keep in mind. So Dr. Bryant continues to say that gyms who use a limited schedule and limit the traffic flow of people coming in and out are a lot more safe. So I do want to point out for us, we do have limited booking, and so you can ensure that there's not going to be too much congestion, too much traffic. So we're following CDC guidelines completely. And he makes a point of saying making sure the gym is cleaning its equipment off regularly. We have enough equipment that our classes, you're getting new equipment each time. So if the previous class leaves, we take those things, we clean it, but y'all get there's already enough that's still clean that we bring in. So that gives us time to disinfect and let it sit. And, instead of, let me spray it and disinfect it and then put it right back out. So it's making sure to sit and, get rid of anything that's on there. Let's see. So Dr. Bryant was talking about how obviously outside is going to be better ventilated, but he said that that's not the biggest risk. You just the most important thing is making sure you have that space. The question was asked, if the gym doesn't have windows that they can open, is that going to be a problem? And that's when he said that it's more important to practice that 6 foot of distance. And just so you know, again, we have already measured and marked lines, and that on top of having the limited capacity, the classes are really small. And going back to that previous South Korea study, they noticed the Zumba classes, the size of classes that experienced being exposed to COVID were anywhere from 5 to 22 people. And I would say 5 is pretty comfortable. And again, we're doing low intensity, and our space is big. So enough room to social distance appropriately. So how can a person protect themselves from COVID? And I'm sure y'all have heard all of this before, but I'm specifically speaking to gym type situations. So first and foremost is with a yoga studio, you're going to be bringing your mat most likely. So trying to make sure to clean that mat when you're at home before you come in, always a good thing. And then whenever you are about to leave, clean your mat again. We offer disinfectant and mat cleaner. So make sure you utilize that if that makes you feel more comfortable. Another thing that's very important is hand washing. We have hand sanitizer stations, and if you're looking for hand sanitizer, just ask one of us and we'll make sure to get you some. But also going into the bathroom, scrubbing your hands. Another good recommendation is to shower when you get home. I know that one sounds self-explanatory, but I know I've been super tired. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep it off and I'll be dirty, and that's gross, but I admit I do it. And so just making sure to practice proper hygiene. masks are required in the common space of the studio. So any of that main foot traffic area, we are required to wear masks. And we also need to make sure we're maintaining that 6 foot of distance. And I know it's hard when you're having a conversation with someone and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to someone and it's been, I feel like forever since I've talked to someone. But we need to make an effort to make sure we're maintaining that 6 foot of distance. And our staff members are wearing masks. Like I said, we're disinfecting everything. Hand sanitizers available. Let's see. Oh, and then the other one, if you haven't been already while we had the mandatory mask thing, what happens is we come in with our masks, we will go into the studio with our masks, set up our mat, and then when everyone's ready and sitting in their place, we'll all take off our masks together. And then before we leave, we all put on the masks and then we can start leaving. Preferably, well, usually the classes aren't huge, which is good for social distancing, but we also want to make sure we're not all leaving at the same time. We want to trickle effect out just to maintain that 6 foot of distance. Let's see. So yeah, we're definitely open. Come take some classes. If you're not comfortable with that, watch online. That's so awesome. So anytime we have a class, we live stream it. So if you see on the schedule and you're like, oh, I really want to go to that class, go on to Facebook, onto the members only section, and that's where you will see the live video. You can join in, have a fun time. The best thing to do right now is to make sure you're moving. Maybe it's not in the same capacity that you were pre-COVID, but we need to start getting back into that routine. And it takes a lot of time. So let's all be there to support each other and help each other through this stressful time, and we'll all get through it together. Thanks so much. Bye.